The streets will never make you grow. It's not a seed, it's a gutter. There's no happy endings in this life. So this is my message to you. The streets will never love you back.
Hey guys, not sure if you can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. As far as my camera, I'm trying to adjust it. I can't figure it out. It's been a while since I've been on here, so it's like I forgot about a couple things. But I hope everyone's doing okay out there. I mean, do you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you hear me. Beautiful. Thank you. Sir Socks, I appreciate that. Let me give you a couple shout outs. I see Miss Can't Be Wrong, Jesse Roth, my boy Boston J. I'm not sure if he's in the house. Sally Boy, Staten Island, Jim Magnifici. I got Don Berlin in the house. The audio's good. Thank you, Don. Don, you know what? I was trying to do the camera. What happened was when I started doing my green screen, then my camera went out. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Who knows? I'm a little illiterate with this stuff. You know, I'm getting better as time went by, but it's still, tricky here and there. Joan Sanders. Hey, Jimmy, good to hear you from a small town. Okay. I give a couple of shout outs. Benny Bronx, Boxing, MMA. Salute, Jimmy. Thank you. Let me pull them out as I send them to you. Hey, Jimmy, good to hear you from small town. Joan Sanders. Hi, Joan. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Very kind. You know, we have a good show over here. I have a lot of good people in my chat. We have a lot of good people that come on. We chop it up. We talk about things in life, things that are going on in the world, current events, and we keep it respectful. Back Brooklyn, I see you. I just spoke to you a little earlier. I hope everything's good with you and the family. You know, it's good to be back. It's been a while for me. I really do love to come on here. There's a lot of people I met on here that I really became very friendly with. We speak every so often. Some of you people I talk to maybe a couple of times a week. Some use every so often. But I met a lot of good people on here, and YouTube is, you can use it for so many positive ways, whether it's content, whether you want to monetize your channel, you could, meet other people. It really is a beautiful thing. Lewis Cole. I see Lewis Cole. Hi, Lewis. I hope everybody's okay, you and the family. Don Berlin, camera grief. It's the camera connection, the computer. I thought we had it fixed, but no luck. I'm so sorry. No, Don, it's good. You know what, Don? I'm glad I'm on. We figured it out. I'll figure this thing out. What happened was I had the green screen behind me. I tried to, use the green screen. It didn't work. And then all of a sudden my camera went off. So I said, you know what? Let me just come on without the camera. Maybe I'll figure it out as I'm doing this video. Jason Pinto, I really enjoyed that. You talk about what it was like and what it's like now. Well, what it was like back then, it was looking back, I had a lot of fun. I lost a lot of friends. I lived a pretty much crazy life, and thank God I'm still alive to talk about it. I'm at a different place now. I live at a different address. I love my children. As everybody who knows me and anyone that's in my circle, they know what kind of person I am. Miss Can't Be Wrong. Lewis Cole, happy holidays. Steve Cutler. What's up, Steve? How are you? Try to disconnect the green screen connection, as that connection could be cutting out the connection. See if that works. Yeah, I'm going to do that, Don. I'm just not going to play with it now because I'm not as tech savvy as you, so I just leave it alone. But I'm glad to be on here today. I hope everybody's doing good out there. Happy holidays to everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving with their families. Hopefully, you all have families that you can spend it with. Family is very important to me in my life, and we'll see if we got a couple stories we can put out there today. I actually have one story I'd like to share with you guys. It's a really good story. It's a Beth Avenue story. What I'll do is I'll give it to you today. Uh, it's a pretty good story, pretty cool story. I think you guys are gonna like it. So what I'll do is I'll throw a photo up there, and I'm gonna give you guys a good story, a prison story, and you're gonna enjoy this. So let me just give me a minute, guys. Okay. Okay. All right. This is a photo. Now, if you see this photo, let's see if I can blow it up a little. I don't think so. All right. Well, if you see this photo was taken in prison. There's Frankie Fabiano, Georgie Conti, Scotty Fabiano, and another guy that I did some time with back in the day. Not time. We got arrested together. We used to sell pot together back in the day, many years ago. That's a guy, Frank Crea. I'm not sure if he's related to the Stephen Crea down in the Bronx, but this was a photo when Scotty Fabiano first got pinched for his rape conviction. He got acquitted later on, but as he was doing the time, when he first got locked up, he was having some problems because on his jacket, it's a rape charge. And a rape charge is pretty bad when you go into prison. So Dominic Crea, Scotty Fapp, Georgie Conti's there. I'm not sure if Georgie Conti is straightened out yet. And you got Frank Fabiano. I'm not sure if he's straightened out yet either. But eventually, Frankie Fapp was straightened out and Georgie Conti was straightened out through cases. Now, when Scotty first came in, he was having a problem with another guy from my old neighborhood called Sebi. Sebi was a tough guy back on Bath Avenue. He made a name for himself. He was a tough guy. He was a guy you really want to mess with, and he believed in that problem. With the streets, if you had a problem, you take care of it right away. So Georgie Conti and Frankie Fapp had to come see Scotty Fapp. Frankie Crea took the ride with him, and Scotty Fapp's having problems because they're not letting him on the courts. Now, if you're not let on a court back in the day, that's like a disrespect. You come to jail, you want to be in someone's court, you want to be cool with people and stuff like that. So Scotty's having a beef, so he has to reach out, makes a phone call, has to reach out, and Sebi is around people too, and they're having a beef inside prison. So Sebi has to get his people. Scotty had to reach out to his people. Of course, Scotty's related to, Frankie D, the Chicos, a couple other people. So Georgie Conti came up with Frankie Fapp. They had to show face, let them know, what? They're out there in the streets. They got a lot of juice. Frankie Fapp's father was Robert Fapp. He was a wise guy too with the Gambinos. So there was a problem that they had to settle. Georgie Conti had to go visit Scotty, Frankie Fapp, Frankie Crea, and they had to let them know that they're out there and that they're strong, and that they were friends of Scotty, because they weren't letting Scotty on the court. But it was a big story back then. Eventually, there's a lot of drug sales going on inside the state prison where people are making money, and eventually they made Sebi happy. They respected Scotty. Kept on stating his case as far as he never raped that woman, that police officer's woman, and they let him on the courts, because in the streets, it's all about respect. And so they gave the respect to Frankie Fap, Georgie Conti, and I guess Scotty's family, who he was related to the Chicos, and that's the way that world works. But that's an old prison photo. That might have been I'm not sure, Karasaki or something, but that's a nice photo back in the day. So that's a Beth Avenue story. I hope you enjoyed that story. Now, a lot of other good things been going on with me. I really don't want to share them yet until something really is carved in stone. Hey Jimmy, it's really something the way you tell the story. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see what else we got over here. Jimmy, do you know a name Reynolds that lived on 16th and Beth? Is that Reynolds' father? No, that's probably someone else. But there's another Reynolds too. There was a wise guy Reynolds that was a wise guy with the Columbos. He ended up cooperating. It might be his son or something. I'm not sure. Steve Cutler, respect in prison could be the difference between life and death. Oh, absolutely. Of course. Look, if you give respect, you get respect. If you don't give it, you won't get it. That's for sure. Tommy Leadhead hit home for me, was murdered on Beth Avenue. Yes, absolutely. Tommy Leadhead back in the day. Tommy Leadhead was a neighborhood kid, died at a young age. He was a good kid. Unfortunately, he ran into somebody that had a gun. He was a young kid, and he ends up shooting him. And these things happen in life. That's why you got to be very careful of who you trust. And you don't know who's carrying a gun, who's carrying a knife. And the way the world is today, very scary. So what I'm going to do is, there's my brother right there. Sammy Mistretta, rest in peace, Leadhead. Yes. Tommy Leadhead, rest in peace. He was a good kid, died at a young age. I think it was Bay 20th and Beth, right in front of the funeral parlor, right? Or around the corner. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to drop a link. Okay? Some of you guys might want to come on. Don Berlin, if you want to come on and host with me, I appreciate that. It's always good to have you. Jason Pinto, right on, bro. That's what keeps my head up. Share the negative and positive. Everyone has a past, but you can always change that. Yes, absolutely. That's for sure. You can always change it. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So let me see if I know how to do this. Okay, I got it. I dropped a link. If anyone wants to come on, you're invited to come on. Just hit the link and you can chop it up with me. In the meantime, I will try to get on here. Okay, Don, I dropped the link. Princess Mish, why can't we see you, Jimmy? I'm having a problem with my camera. I'm having a problem with my camera. Hopefully you'll see me soon, for sure. Pablo, Jimmy, I was born 83, but I would definitely be excited to grow up with you guys. The story you have pretty cool besides your friends getting killed. Otherwise, it was some good times. Yes, growing up back in the day, there was a lot of good times, Like you said, losing friends at a young age. It's it hurts and you look back, where would those guys be today? How old would they be? Would they have a family? Things like that. And it goes for both sides, even my enemies. So, there's a lot to think about always. Okay, I got Don Berlin. There you go. Hey, Don.
How you doing?
How,
The man in black, as in a black image. Can you see me at least?
yes, I do see you.
How you
How's,
doing? I
good.
tried my hardest. It didn't work.
No,
Hold on one second here.
I'll
Okay.
tell you, but you know what? It did work because you got me online. So,
Yeah.
by you making me delete all that history,
Yeah.
so obviously it worked.
All right. Well, that's good. So, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about current events? You want to talk about my life on Earth as a humanoid?
We could talk about, what? The inflation's going crazy,
Yeah.
right? I mean, food prices today. I went to the store the other day. I think I spent $140 and I left
Yeah.
there with two shopping bags.
Jesus Christ. With two kids and a family, that doesn't feed much.
No.
and and $140 doesn't go very far. I apologize for my voice. I got sick when I came back from deployment, and because the air where I was, I can't get into where I was, but whatever, was just for shit, and the conditions were as well as cold, miserable, and what have you. So when I came home, I got sick, but I feel okay. It's just my voice hasn't come back yet. So I'm not your usual star-studded guy that I normally am, but I'll do my best here.
Yeah. So you know what? How's everything been with you? You've been overseas. You know
Yeah,
what? You protect this country over here. How's everything with you? How's the colonel?
he's good. He's good. He's working hard. So yeah, yeah, I mean, things are in transition right now for me. I left one program that I was supporting, and I'm going to go on to another one. I hope it's actually a promotion, so I'm praying hard that it'll come through. And I got a little backstory I want to tell you about that in a second. Um, but just to clarify, so a lot of people online, I was on Gunsmoke show, I was on Chris's show, FBS's show. They asked me about, service. What can I do um, to serve, our country, our friends, our family, people around us, and what have you. And people are really confused about how the defense military establishment works in the United States. So what I thought I would do just briefly, just to explain it better, so people can understand how they can serve, even inside or outside the government. There are great needs right now. There really are. Um, so let me just explain in 2 minutes or less. I don't want to jam up the program with too much esoteric information, but basically think of the U.S. military defense establishment as a three-legged stool. Okay, leg number one is called the COCOMs, Army, Navy, Marines, and whatever, the active duty service personnel. That's what everybody always kind of looks at and says that's who's serving. But that's not true. They're actually in the minority. Then the second level, the second ring of the stool, where a lot of people serve, including myself, is either the DoD, which is the Department of Defense, or the IC, which is the intelligence community, the so-called black side of the house. So, and then the third level of the stool um, is the civilian workforce, the industry they call it, or the contractors. And so those are the three legs, and all of those three legs work together harmoniously to carry out any particular mission or what have you. there's always a blend of forces between DOD, between the COCOMs, and between the contractor force, anywhere you go in the world, on any number of different missions and what have you. So when people ask me, well, how can I serve? I'm too old to join the military, but that doesn't mean you can't still serve. You could join, you could try to get a job within the DOD. Okay, you could become a direct military contractor, or you can become a regular contractor. And those jobs pay a lot of money. I'm telling you, a lot of money, especially when you're deployed. I mean, serious money. Let me just give you an example. For every base of 100 grand, okay, for say you're making 100,000 in the country, if you go to a dangerous place, okay, that's a 30% uplift. So now you're at 130. If the dangerous place is declared a war zone, where I go, then it's another 30% on top of the 130. So now you're at around 190. And then you have locator pay and what have you, which brings it up to about 220. Then if you're gone for 3 months and 1 day or 12 months and 1 day outside the United States, the first 95,000 or whatever you earn, all tax free. You don't pay any taxes on it.
Wow.
Yeah, you can really earn a lot of money. And here's the sad part, and that is that, I served in Afghanistan 4 times and what have you, and you get into this contractor trap where you can't get out because the money is so good. I met guys, Jimmy, honestly, they had kids that were like, say, maybe like the age of your kids, okay? And all they did is they went on deployment strictly so they could afford to set aside the money, save the money for a college fund for them. And then they were going to get out. That was their whole motivation. They wanted to put a couple 100,000 on the side for their kids because they were like, your kids' age. They needed.
I had my friend's son
Yeah.
that I work with. He just joined the reserves.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay? So he joined the reserves, and now he'll get free college, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he'll get a job. They'll hook him up.
Yeah. And here's that way that program works, that academic program. So you go into the reserves. I think it's like, and don't quote me on this because I'm not familiar with it, but I think it's like, say you sign up for a bid for 4 years, okay, hypothetically. On the 3rd year of the 4-year bid, you depart from this active service branch. You go away to school and you get your master's, okay, it's a 2-year program. You get paid your regular salary. You get paid a stipend for housing, for eating, for everything you need, okay, plus your college tuition, anywhere you can get in, okay. If you could get into Harvard, they'll pay for it. Doesn't matter what the cost is.
I'll tell you, it sounds like a good deal to me.
No, it is. Then what happens is you get your diploma and you automatically have to come back in for another 4 years, okay? So, and then you can repeat that on the 3rd year of that 4-year bid. You can repeat it and go for your doctorate, and they'll do it all over again. So you're talking about major money. That's several $100,000 that they're investing in your education and you as a person. And a lot of kids these days, they can't afford to go to college. They can't afford to. The student loans are out of sight. So this is how they do it. And you're serving as well. So
of course, I think about my kids.
Yeah.
They're gonna have some student loan debt too later on.
Oh yeah, for sure. If that's assuming there's any student loan program around at that time.
You know what? I even heard that these politicians, their children and their family members also get free college also.
It's a completely different kind of program. And I don't know about the executive branch or the congressional branch of benefits. I only know about the DOD, military, and whatever. And I've been in the game for a long, long, long time, as you know. I'm not familiar on that side of the street. I wouldn't doubt that is true, however, that there are some benefits for college education for their kids and what have you. But going on, so now the 3 legs of the stool. So if you can't, serve the country or your family or your friends or your community that way, There's another way in which you can serve that's, in my opinion, more important in many ways, okay? And that's helping the injured, helping the people who have landed up at Walter Reed, at Brooke Army Hospital in Texas, and any number of veterans hospitals where you can volunteer, where you can go and just go through the wards and bring something to somebody, if it's not just a conversation. Believe it or not, Jimmy, the most important thing that you can do in service for a service person who's been badly injured is be present. That's all you got to do. That's service. Be present in their life. Help their family so that they can go visit by cleaning their house or maybe raking their leaves or whatever it might be, so you can accord them the opportunity to be able to go and visit their loved one. That's service, and that's for the people who cannot, really participate in the DoD or IC or COCOM community. But it's an important service because we owe that to our veterans. We owe that to the people who have made and given their ultimate sacrifice, their lives and their limbs. Um, so, um, so we'll see what happens. I'm happy doing what I do. I've done it for a long time, but it is what it is.
I'll tell you, that's some great advice. Like you
Yeah,
said. I mean, help these people. If
yeah,
you could be there for them and be a part of their life, help them. Because
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
tell you, Don, throughout the course of life, whether you're serving the military, whether you're just living life in general, we're all fighting some battle.
yeah,
Every single one of us is fighting a battle, and that's why I always say just be kind to others, because we don't know what anyone's going through. We could be in a store,
yeah,
standing online. We don't know what that person in front of us, the person behind us, what they're going through. I have a heart for people. I really do. I want to see everyone do well and do good. And unfortunately, this world is very evil.
yeah. Well, I know that the world contains, darkness. It has to the beginning of mankind. Um, and the beginning of humanity. It contains a lot of, if you will, addresses of darkness. But I also know that the world contains a lot of very good people who are well intended, and people who, have had difficult lives, such as yourself and others. Redemption, reconciliation, and resolution is acquired by service. It is. If you want to redeem yourself, if you want to reconcile yourself to your past, if you want to resolve those things in which you've done and make them better, that's done through service to others. And it can be a random act of kindness that nobody knows about, and that's service. Um, in particular, like, if I were Jimmy Calandra and I wanted to get into this game, what would I do? Okay, knowing you as well as I do, we've talked and known one another for quite some time, but it would be probably going down and talking with soldiers who are suffering from PTSD. It's a very, very difficult issue. And here's the deal, okay? A lot of people don't understand how the very strong similarities between war on foreign soil and war on the Bath Avenue streets. Okay, they're very similar. The war on the Bath Avenue streets is a war of survival and protection of geography, money, land, whatever your gig is or what have you, and people get killed every single day. The war on the Bath Avenue streets is characteristic by its treachery, by its betrayal, by being walked into a room by your best friend and not coming out. I mean, the hallmark of that kind of war is betrayal, treachery, deceit, evilness. That's what that type of war is. Foreign soil wars on foreign soil, for your country, have, as a purpose, as a mission, what have you. We're a team. We're working together for destruction of a common enemy that seeks to change our life, our lifestyle, our way of living, our families, and so on and so forth. Very different kind of war. But the difference is that, or I'm sorry, the similarity is that dead is dead. People land up dead. People who are you're serving with. I can't tell you how many people I know and have loved in my life have died near me and around me in the course of my work. And such survivors have serious PTSD. They relive these moments of when things occurred around them.
I'll
I
tell
said
you,
on a
I'll tell
yeah,
you,
go ahead.
John, you know what? Because you talk about PTSD, and we had this conversation once before, and I
Yeah,
know, and I know that your wife is a therapist or
right.
something like that, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
you know what?
exactly.
Listen, I have PTSD. I'm saying
Right,
I see a therapist once a month.
right.
Okay, this way, you know what? Anything I tell her, it stays there.
Yeah,
I'm comfortable with her.
yeah,
So anything that I did in my past that really bothers me inside, I
right.
sit down with her and I let her hear it, what I have to
Yeah,
say. You
right.
know, because
And that's an example of what I was talking about before. That's an example of resolution. You go to therapy to try and resolve and reconcile what you did in your past so you can live through it, get through it uh, today and tomorrow. That's what PTSD, cognitive behavioral therapy is all about. Um, a lot of guys can't do that, Jimmy. They just can't. They're not built that way, and especially in the military, because they view therapy of that type as weakness. But what drives them into therapy is this. Okay, they get haunted by their past. They continue to dance with the ghosts of their past, and it robs them of a future. And then they self-medicate. They begin drinking. They begin using drugs. They become alcoholics. They become drug addicts, and then they land up out on the street with other mental health issues, or what have you. That's how That's kind of like the line in which it goes. They suffer from PTSD. They don't. It's untreated. It manifests itself into drinking or drugs or what have you. They get addicted, they get thrown out, other consequences occur. And those are the people whom you see living on the streets. Those are the veterans. That's what's happened to them. So God bless you for reaching out and getting help, and doing the work that you're doing, because you wouldn't be able to do what you're doing now to help others unless you were helping yourself first.
yeah, you know what? And thank you because you give us a lot of advice and knowledge every time you're on here.
Well, I all I try to do is share my experience, strength, and hope. I'll tell you a short story. I told this on another channel. One of my first missions, in fact, my very first one was doing something. It's now declassified, so or I can talk about it, but it's a short story. It was on June 6, 1989, and I was just in. I had just finished training, and and I'd been in the system for about roughly a year. And I was sent to Beijing, China, to evaluate whether or not the demonstrations around Tiananmen Square had actual traction, or whether they were just, kind of like a fly in the pan, much like what's going on today in Russia with all these demonstrations. Are these real, genuine demonstrations that really consist of a movement, or are they just a flash in the pan? Well, Tiananmen Square, I'll get to the end of the story quickly. Was a very consequential event, in my opinion. It was the most consequential event in the 20th century for China because of what ultimately happened afterwards. But China has always maintained the position that, there are a couple bumps and bruises, down at the square, everybody's okay, and we just had a minor protest. Well, Jimmy, I was there, okay? I was in the square with my colleagues doing what we were doing. Okay. I'm not going to get into the details of what we were doing, but just trust me, I was there. Okay. It was not bumps and bruises. Thousands of people were killed. So
Mm.
many that they brought in front end loaders with no pods on the loaders, which is only done for one reason, and that's to push bodies, heavy bodies, lots of bodies off the square. All right. And I see those images to this very day, just like you see the images of your friends getting killed, just like you see the images of what happened on Bath Avenue. No different. Mine was a war on foreign soil. Yours was a war on Bath Avenue. But it haunted us both in the same way. And I would say honestly, it probably was ironically the thing that drove me to drink as much as I did, become an alcoholic, become a drug addict, ultimately get myself, injured so badly I almost died later on that month when I got back, and then finally into recovery. And I've been sober since Christmas Day, God's Day, I call it,
Wow.
1989. Doing the thing I do, and been sober ever since.
And that's the
But
thing, Don. People
yeah,
look at someone like you, and they don't know. You know what? You have a past behind you too.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
said, you know what? At one time, you had an alcohol problem.
yeah,
A
yeah,
drug problem, and
yeah,
people don't understand that. Wow, they can look at you. Wow, look at this guy now.
yeah, right. And the other part of my story that I always tell people is, yeah, that was my experience. We'll call it my experience side of the story, just like your experiences on Bath Avenue that you share, online here, no different. So those are my experiences. But my strength, what is my strength? How do I keep on going? Given what I went through. How do you keep on going, given what you went through? Horrible trauma. Horrible. I
I tell
mean,
you, Don. No exaggeration. There's
yeah,
times that I
yeah,
cry.
yeah,
I could just sit in a room, and
yeah,
what? Out of nowhere, I'll just start crying because of
right,
everything that went on in my life. The time I wasted. I'm watching my kids grow. Like I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be here. I mean, every day is a scary time in this world today. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. A
And
lot of,
I worry about these kids, and all I do is tell my kids, I just want you to be successful. Go to
yeah,
school, become something. Look at certain people in our family, which I love. But there's a lot of people that didn't go to school in my family. So that's
right,
why I tell my kids, go to school. Don't never depend on a man. Become something of your life. Don't do
yeah.
like me. I struggled my life. I had to go rob and steal, and I went the wrong way. I want them to do it the
Yeah.
right way.
Well, here's the thing that is the hallmark of PTSD, and that is flashbacks and flash forwards. Okay. The flashbacks are haunted images of your past that you just cannot break through and they manifest themselves as anger, as triggers, as crying or sadness, mad, sad, glad, afraid, ashamed, hurt. You know, all of those emotions are tied up with PTSD. And the flash forwards are the unreasonable fears of what may or may not happen tomorrow, because tomorrow's not here. All we have as people is we've all lived on, life on many, many yesterdays. There are no guarantees for tomorrow. All you got, Jimmy, is today. That's all you got. Um, and so you kind of like have to live in that moment. you know PTSD doesn't allow you to do that. It forces you back into the past because the images are just so horrifying and so traumatic. um,
I tell you, that's why I love to listen to you, Don. Because just like Neil says, he says you have great insight, very eloquently stated.
Thank you, thank you. That's very kind of you, but uh, you know I speak, and I try to speak whenever I speak, with personal experience and common sense. So, you know, I've watched, how you have changed over the months and the years since you've been on YouTube or what have you, and it's amazing transformation. And for people that are in recovery and what have you, we talk about a spiritual awakening. We talk about maybe that moment in which you decided enough is enough, and some highly consequential event has occurred which has just made you decide that you want to, you want to undergo, a transformative change, So my belief is, and I'm not suggesting that my faith or my belief is any different or stronger or weaker than somebody else who doesn't have this experience, maybe doesn't have faith, or maybe doesn't believe necessarily in God, and that's okay for them. It's not for me, but it is for them. I don't come with any judgments about that. But what I can say is that what kept me sober all these years, the number one thing by far, is a belief that God was and is always by my side. And here's the reason why. I believe that's for me. And I also believe, more importantly, that is for you, Jimmy. And the reason is because for all of the things that I did prior to, getting hurt and prior to Tiananmen Square, I should have been dead 100 times. So should you have. I mean, the many, many rooms, Jimmy, that you could have been
Yes,
walked into and
100%.
killed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yet both of us are still alive talking right now. Well, how is that possible unless it's a miracle? That's what I believe. And mainly because of this. When I woke up at Northwestern University Memorial Hospital, the Brain Trauma Center in Chicago, in July 1989, after I got hurt, um, there wasn't a day in which I was in the hospital, there and following hospital at McBride Center, which was, I was hospitalized for almost 11 months. There wasn't a day that I looked up into the heavens and said, God, why have you forsaken me and left me like this, coming out of a state of unconsciousness? That never happened to me. I always believed and still believe and will always believe that God is on my side. And the reason why I can believe that is strictly mathematics. It really is. I would not be alive all these days if God weren't by my side. I mean, I was a mission director for 22 major missions. Okay. I should have been dead many, many, many times in the work, in the kind of work I do. And yet I'm not. So I believe that God has always been by my side during the good times and during the bad times. Um, and that's what's really helped me maintain myself during difficult periods of transition and whatever.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Don. Good for you. And
Yeah,
look, you speak about God, and look, I speak of my mother, and I think of my mother every day. I'm sure you think about your mom every day. My
yeah,
father. I lost my father at the age of 59. My mother,
yeah,
64, and it's just I look at their lives and like they did the best they can with what they had. My father went to work every day, 35 years, the same job. But you know what? I know every day him too. He was also fighting a battle.
yeah,
He had that
yeah,
alcohol battle every day. Every day after work, he would hit the bar. But then him and my mother separated. I was a young boy. You know what? I went through that not seeing my mom and dad in the same house together, and that hurt me as a
yeah,
young boy. But my mother always taught me about God. She was the mother that was always preaching. You know what? Do this. Get a band together. And stuff like that. Having the religious groups in a house, and we would be there for all the food and stuff like that. But looking back on my parents, I tell you, I salute them. They did the best they can with what they had, and they were really good people. They were good people. I'm not saying that because they're my parents. They
yeah.
were really great people because
Right,
they just gave us love. I know
right.
what love is,
Yeah,
and that's what they taught me.
yeah. And when you have that type of the fabric of that as the foundation of your life, you can do great things with it. And then on the other hand, however, as your story goes, while you did have that foundation for your life, then something happened that made you go to the streets and what have you. And whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, that's the reality of what happens, especially during those times, and where you were and what have you. You can argue and debate and talk and and ruminate for excuse me for the rest of your life about why you made that turn to the streets. But here's the thing, Jimmy, you can't change the past. You can't. All you can do is work on yourself today and make amends. How do you make amends to your father who's deceased? You can't. You can't go up into the heavens and sit down with him now and say, I'm so sorry for how things turned out for me. You can't do that. So what can you do? Okay. In my world, in my life, my dad also died. He was only 50 years old. I was a young kid. I didn't have a father. He died when he was 50. And my mother's situation was not much better. So when I sobered up and what have you, and went down this journey and what have you, my amends to my dad was to not do what I did in the past every single day. That was my amends. And I, excuse me, I know truly that's all he would have wanted for me.
Yeah, I see you get a little choked up when you talk about him.
I am just like, you've been, when you've shared about your regrets and what have you. I say, I have the same, what I did to my life before I joined and changed and what have you. Um, I mean, I would never have gone down the road of, service in the DOD and the contractor community, becoming a DMC and a high level one at that, getting a career, doing what I do, because I'm highly specialized and what have you, unless I was sober. And more importantly, unless I looked up into the heavens every day and told my dad, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to do better. And that's how I committed my life.
And you know what? That's how I am. I want to commit my life the same way.
Yeah.
I want to do better every day. I want to put good people in my circle, good people around me, because one poison person could destroy your everything.
Oh boy. Yeah. And that's a funny thing. I was thinking about this the other day. Okay. I just want to throw this out to the general community that's listening, and just ask the question, um, whether or not that you've experienced this and watching, MobTube and the mob genre and what have you. But if you notice, okay, if you notice, if you've been around for roughly 2 years, say, okay. Now, Jimmy, there was Jimmy, Michael Francis, Sonny, rather Sammy, and so on and so forth. You were kind of like in the very beginnings of this. So if you notice, each one of these people that came in early, Chris Ladrago or FBS, Gunsmoke, that they've been around for, since the very beginning. They came in one way with one system of belief and then completely turned and became better. And what I mean by that is this. For Jimmy, for you, like your channel, like moved really, really dramatically towards service, towards trying to help others, trying to spread a positive message, trying to get people off the streets,
Redemption.
yeah, redemption, resolution, reconciliation, and so
Yes.
on and so forth. Yeah. And really blew up the channel because I believe that a lot of people want to hear that. They really do. They're in the same spots that you and I and others, were in, or feel that they're in, or perceive that they're in. So now, and then you got Chris Ladrago at FBS. I don't like calling people by their moniker. So Chris, he came in believing that John Gotti Sr. was his hero, was his icon, was his God, and what have you. Okay. Then as he progressed through his own recovery, because he too is sober and has been for now 40 some months. But as he got more well and as he as he did better in understanding his own recovery and his own journey into recovery, suddenly all of the evil that he was admiring, that he was, looking up to, went away, started to dissipate, and he disassociated himself with the likes of John Gotti, to the point where we all know where he is now. Now, on the positive side, okay, of his awakening, that's what I'll call it, he finally comes to the point where, I don't know if you know the story, if you saw this, I was online when it happened and helped. But what happened was that he used to have this picture of John Gotti in his background. It was a framed picture of him, large picture that he always had back there in the early going. And he finally decided, I'm going to take this fucking thing down off the wall. I hate this guy and what he stands for. They're killers and they're bums and whatever, and they destroy communities. I'm not going to have them up on my wall, and takes it down. Well, that obviously made people very upset that are on that side of the wall. No pun intended. Well, the thing hung around for a while. And finally, in the middle of a show a couple of days ago, spontaneously, which is really the best way something could happen, because that to me has the tilt of God behind you. But spontaneously, he asks the audience, what am I going to do with this fucking picture? I don't want it anymore. Should I give it away? Should I auction it? What should I do? So Lefty and Common Sense come up with the idea that maybe, we should have a fundraiser and give the funds to a worthy cause. Okay. So that brings in, I can't remember his last name. It starts with a K, Canzango, Chris Capozzi, Carisi. I don't remember how to pronounce his last name. But a nice guy, really nice guy. And he says, why don't we give the money? Why don't we raise money on the air and have a short little, kind of like fundraiser, give all the money to Wounded Warriors Fund.
Nice.
And do it directly. Okay. In other words, no people in between, so people can't say it was, what it was a scam or something like that.
The kid Casparosa.
That's the guy. Yeah,
There you go.
Chris Casparosa. Right.
Miss Can't Be Wrong. She put up.
Yeah. Chris, you're right. And Miss Can't Be Wrong. She was on also, so she knows the story, so she can correct me along the way, because I may be making mistakes. But yeah, Chris Casparosa, he had the link to the fundraiser at Wounded Warriors. So next thing you know, his fundraiser wasn't going so good. Okay, he really hadn't raised any money of any sort, maybe $100 or something like that. So we start this fundraiser and what have you, and Jimmy, within about, I would say, and Miss Can't Be Wrong, you correct me, I'd say maybe like 2 hours time, we raised on the Federation of the Good versus the Cabal of the Evil. We raised for Wounded Warriors almost $1,700 in just 2 hours. Yeah.
Nice.
And that was done all spontaneously. And so you have to ask yourself, back to the question, how is it that as you were saying at the very beginning of the show, that YouTube does have the forces of good, do come together and can do great things, and they do change people somehow or another. You, Chris, Gunsmoke Chris. I don't know if anybody knows what Chris Gunsmoke is. His name is Chris too. All seem to come together, seeking to do something good, seeking to make other people's lives better.
And you know what? Like you said, what we're doing is we're all growing.
Yeah. So I look at YouTube and I say to myself, healthy people do attract healthy people. And Jimmy, sick people attract sick people,
And what they say, know what else they say, right? They say crazy don't know crazy.
Boy, isn't that true? Boy, isn't that true? And so, I wonder if that's the magic of YouTube. I wonder if Chris Ladrago and other Miss Can't Be Wrong, Common Sense, Gunsmoke, Chris, JC, all these other people, whatever. I wonder if that's the magic in the bottle, the lightning in the bottle that has been created by the Mob 2 genre. The good do gather to do good things, and the evil, boy, do they stay together. Do they do things that are just unbelievable? And it's kind of an evolving, endless story that has no epilogue and never will, because the
Well,
characters
Don,
are constantly.
listen, Don, you're an intelligent guy. I consider you a very bright guy. Now,
Yeah.
the things that I don't understand, or maybe you can help me with this, is like when someone actually has their train of thought a certain way and they never change it. I'm saying you can know someone's evil, but you accept it and you want to be friendly with that person. I mean, me, if I see somebody that's evil, someone that's a snake, someone's a garbage can, what I do is I go like this. You know what? I don't want to. I don't want nothing to do with that person.
I think the answer to that is what I said. Healthy people attract healthy people, and sick people attract sick people. Okay. The answer is that evil seeks evil, finds evil, and lives with evil. It's as simple as that. Um, why is that? Because sadness doesn't get along with happiness. Okay. Shame doesn't get along with reconciliation. Those are those are not partners in crime or partners in life. Um, so the people who are exhibiting, illness, and sometimes very profound illness, um, all they can do is coexist with other people who are sick, and more importantly, lash out at the people who are not. Okay, because they can't be, because their problems are so, deep and undiscovered, if you will. I said before, someone asked me about, why is it that people that and I'm not going to get into names and whatever here because it's not really particularly relevant, but why is it a certain person or persons, live in this complete alternate reality? You could show them films, their own words, wiretaps, documents that any logical person would come to the same conclusion of what they say. And yet that individual will say the sky is not blue, it's pink. Okay. And what I believe is that, and I say this with the greatest amount of compassion and sympathy and empathy, but more importantly, pity. I pity these people. And the reason is because they've created is this alternate reality that they are only able to exist in. And why is it that people create an alternate reality? Because the real reality of what their lives are all about is too painful. It's too tragic, too sad, too horrible, and too unreconciled. That's why. And so the only way they can survive is in this alternate reality. And then you pour alcohol on top of that and pour drugs on top of that. And that alternate reality that you and I see every single day on the air, okay, is so bizarre, so macabre, and so outside of the borders of actual reality, we can't even contemplate it. You can't talk to those people. You know what it's like, Jimmy? Try to talk to a guy swimming in a pond under a pond of water and ask him if he's heard your message. You can't do that. They don't hear anything because they're in this alternate reality, because their own journey in life is so pitiful, so sad, so tragic, so unresolved. And they won't, for a lot of times because of mental health reasons, they can't overcome it. And they go on their merry way, destroying everything in their path, become sociopathic, borderline personalities. It's horrible, horrible.
Just also like as you see, like people slandering people and knocking people, making up lies about people. I mean, in all honesty, back in the day, I'm a Generation X guy. I grew up in 1969. I was born, so
Mm-hmm.
my time could tell you straight out. I grew up. I mean, if you came out of your mouth, you had to throw a punch. You got hit in the mouth, and you built respect. You know, this generation today is They want to slander people over a computer, create lies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm asking you because, like, again, I'm going to tell you, I love your advice. I think you're very bright. How do you deal with this? Like, because there's something where, honesty, it's like I want to like strangle these fucking people.
Yeah, I understand.
That's it.
I
I mean,
understand.
maybe even worse than that, Don. I'm not even
Yeah,
fucking kidding.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if it wasn't for my kids, in all honesty, I'd probably wait in front of their fucking door.
yeah. Right,
You know,
right. Well,
that's it.
your kids in this case act as your clutch.
Absolutely.
That's yeah. They're the ones that inhibit you from going into or back into your natural state, which is darkness, and that's what holds you in the positive light, and that's very very important. I mean, we all need that. Um, for me, it's my wife, my farm. These are my priorities, my animals. And I hate to say it, it's not, to trivialize it, but they're very important to me. My family, and so on and so forth, so that I don't enter the dark spaces. But to answer your question, you know, there are several schools of thought, and you and I have talked about this privately. Um, so you could go the way of Michael Franzese. His way is to ignore them all, and to remain very focused on his message. Mike is the kind of guy who is laser focused on the business aspect of his enterprise. He's very good at that. He was when he was a criminal, and he's very good at it today in a positive way. A lot of people criticize Mike for his message that they don't believe. They think it's disingenuous or whatever. I am telling you, I've talked with him, I've been around him, you know, I believe in all of my heart that his convictions, his core convictions, starting with the story of when the Bible thumped on the floor of his jail cell, and his ultimate conversion, is genuine. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Now, do I believe that he is a very gifted speaker who is able to, deliver a compelling message, and that can benefit him? Absolutely. And what's wrong with that? So his way is to ignore completely. Okay. Um, Other people on the other side of the extreme, you have Chris or FPS, who battles them daily. Okay.
Yes.
And doesn't put up and doesn't brook any kind of you know attacks, especially against his family, and most especially against his wife. He doesn't put up with that. So those are the two extremes. I'm not suggesting either one is right or wrong. What I'm suggesting is there is a middle way. Okay. And the middle way is to do, kind of like what we're doing, and that is talking about, our lives and how we're focusing on going forward, sharing what your past was, giving people hope, giving people strength, sharing your experiences, in life, and keeping on focusing on that. And in one way, there's an old saying, when these people do the things that they do, like what you're talking about, the slander and all the finger pointing and destructive behavior, and the things that trigger people, like what you're sharing. Okay, why is it that triggers you? Okay, so badly. Part of it is, in your case, I think, in my opinion, is because you do have strong PTSD and are working on it. These triggers, by attacks and what have you, your life, your very survival on the street was making certain that you responded to an attack because, hey, this is the deal. If you don't, you're dead. Okay? That was what your life was like back then. You had to be very, very, very careful, and anything could be coming around the corner. So, so these attacks of today, like you're talking about, re-ring those bells very, very, significantly. And I see that, no question. Um, But, I look at those people and I say to them, you know something, my friend, you represent to me everything I ever used to be and never, ever want to be again. That's what you represent to me. That's why I react. That's why I'm triggered, because I once was like that. I once did those kinds of things to people and don't want to ever do them again. That's what that when you get these triggers, you have to look at that person and say, what is it about that individual's behavior? Do I recognize in myself that I once was, that I can't, that I don't want to be ever again? It's kind of like looking at yourself in the mirror and with this figure next to you that is that's causing all these triggers and saying, get the fuck out of my life. You're sicking me.
Exactly. That's what Pazzo says. He says it triggers because it's personal.
Yeah, yeah. And the act of taking accountability and responsibility first begins at looking at what that person is saying and how I was like that once, how I might have done something like that once, and don't want to ever be that way again. I recognize that attribute or quality, or if you will, disfiguration within myself, and I never want to be that way. And therefore, I get mad at, it manifests itself as anger, lashing out. But what in reality it is that you recognize something in that person's behavior that you were once and never wish to be again. So that's to answer your question, how do you deal with it? It's not the Michael Francis way. I can't do that. It's not the Chris Ladrago, who is like a brother to me. I love Chris. I talk to him all the time. And he's a good guy. Okay. I worry, to be candid, I worry, and I told him I'm not saying anything out of school because I worry, and I told him that this could be affecting his health.
Mm.
He's not, if you will, a totally well person physically. He's gone through a lot of trauma. He's early in the context of sobriety. They call it early in sobriety prior to 5 years. This could be, affecting that. So I worry for him in that regard. But I think I know he's addressing it. I know that he is not struggling, but searching for a new way to help others tell a story and yet not have to engage in all of this bitterness. And something, I really think this is true. I think that event involving the fundraiser for the picture, to me, the most consequential show he has ever put on. I think that was a turning point for him. I think once he discarded that image, got rid of it from his house, that representation of evil from within his house, okay, that was haunting him in his space. Once he did that and let that go, I think he's really, I think that is making him really turn a corner. He's after that show, he really sounded differently to me, both on the phone privately and on the air. That's what I believe, and we'll see how that goes. But if you play some of his shows after that, it's interesting how he's kind of once again evolving.
Yeah. And you know what? I think, like you said, I think we're all evolving as far as, on this side.
Yeah,
I call it the good side.
yeah, right. The Federation of the Good.
Look, me, I'm the type of person, I'm always growing. I
Yeah.
want to learn. I want to learn more from people that, I could learn from. And,
Yeah.
that's how I am. If I'm in a room, usually I'm mostly quiet unless it's my turn to talk. And I like to talk about what I know. If I don't know, I really don't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
But,
Well, all I can say to the audience is this, and I can't get into the details because it's a private conversation, but tune in for Jimmy Calandra in the near future. You're going to see some amazing things happen.
thank
Okay,
you,
tune
John.
in.
Thank
Tune
you.
in. Yeah, amazing things are going to happen. If you think the channel is what it is right now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that. And Don, you
Yeah.
know what? Listen, I appreciate you coming on here and
Yeah.
chopping up. I know the other day you were on with Fatball Sicilian.
Yeah.
And, I want to do that thing also. We have to talk one day. I want to get your wife on here where we could,
Yeah.
do the thing with the PTSD. I think
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful.
It is, and she's anxious to do it too because her clinical practice is changing now so that she does a lot of telemedicine. And her primary focus was always in the national security space, helping people with clearances and also members of the military or whatever. But now her practice is changing, um, and she is doing more work with patients that are suffering from traumatic injury, from PTSD, from alcohol and other drug addiction. It's kind of like she's really focusing on integrated medicine, integrated psychotherapy, using all sorts of different approaches that are interesting to people and what have you. I'm supposed to, if I don't know, I don't know what my future holds, but I'm in Israel a lot. I'm in the Middle East a lot, but there's a program that she wants to go to in Israel. They do a lot of work on PTSD in Israel. So she would be a great person to have on the air. She really would.
Yeah,
She
we
could
gotta have
talk.
her on. We have to have her on one day.
Yeah, yeah. Any Sunday is good. Any Sunday. And I'll show her this show, and then I'll put her in touch with you, and you can make arrangements and what have you. She's a very gifted speaker too. She's a lot better than me, I can tell you, and a lot smarter. And she's had an incredible story of a career. Incredible. I mean, I say this to people, it's like your kids for you. They are the heartbeat of our soul. They really are. I mean, if it wasn't for my wife, for you, if it wasn't for your kids, there would be no heartbeat in your soul. That they are everything, and I do the work I do when I don't have to do it because everything, my life's work is at the end of the day, this is what my will says too, by the way, is all for my wife and family.
So how long are you home for now? And what are you doing? Spend the holidays home?
Yeah, yeah. I'm in transition, and I going from one program to the other. I don't want to get into the details, but there could be good things on the horizon for me, or it could be a disaster. I don't know which. I pray mightily, um, but this coming week I'll know for sure. What my future holds. And by the way, that is not unusual in this community. You go from when you're an SME 4, especially, which means a subject matter expert 4, which is the highest level you can be, means you have at least 20 years experience, and even certified by the military or the Department of Defense or the IC. You're basically the SMEs are the guys that are like the firemen. Okay, we go where the fire is hottest. We go where the problems are the greatest, solve the problem, and then leave and go to the next problem. So the SMEs are the people in the community within our very narrow space, our narrow highway of expertise. We go from place to place to place to place, or mission to mission to mission, and solve the problem, and move on. So this is not unusual that I'm in transition, whatever. So we'll see where I land up. I'll know like in the next 2 weeks or whatever. But to answer your question, I'm home for the holidays. I'll be here till after the first.
Good. And hopefully I'll have you on again before you head back out.
Yeah, yeah. Either that or, I get up to New York with the Joint Terrorism Task Force is headquartered in New York. So for NYPD anyway, and they're an important element of it. And they kind of feed into the National Counterintelligence Terrorism Center. So I'm up there, and we could do a live show together, in person. And that would be fun.
Of course, anytime.
I can fix your camera and your computer right on the spot.
Well, hopefully we'll have it fixed by then.
That's an easy problem. We got to go through the steps that we went through on the phone.
Yeah.
The ones we did. Yeah, you can't do that now, because it'll break the show. But after we get off, then call me at home. We'll do it again. It's an easy fix. What's happening, just for you to know and everybody else to know, is when you put up the green slide in the background and the camera's activated, it'll disconnect the camera because they're both sharing the same port. And you gotta disconnect the camera, disconnect the green sheet, and then bring the camera up alone. That's why it worked for a moment, because when you and I were doing it, you weren't bringing up the green in the background, so it worked. Okay, so we gotta. That's the problem.
Yeah, when I'm off with you, when I'm done, what I'll do is
Yeah,
I'll check it out. I'll go into it and I'll see if I could
yeah,
delete that green screen.
yeah. That's what you do that first, and then go through the steps I told you before.
Yeah,
That's
because
something.
I have a lot of stuff downloaded on this laptop, and
Yeah.
I really don't know how to work it like that.
Well, when we get together whenever, I can take a look at it and also get you some tools that will clean it and make it and maintain it better and what have you, so that doesn't happen. Because you're right, you downloaded a ton of stuff, and depending upon where you have it, if you haven't partitioned the drives correctly, it could be slowing down the performance of the computer. You know, so there's a lot of different tricks you can do to make the computer perform better and not have any stall outs and what have you. Because the worst, do you back up your data, by the way, in a cloud or someplace?
I think I do.
What do you mean you think you do? Do you or don't you?
I'm not sure. I
Oh
have
shit!
I have an iCloud.
Okay. And do you have it set so it backs up daily, or do you have to manually back it up?
Uh, I think it sets up daily.
Yeah. Well, that at least is good. But that would be the first thing that you and I would check out is imaging the hard drive through the iCloud, making certain all your content and documents are preserved in the cloud, you know. And I would encourage everybody online, if you've got a computer, do two things. And I say this as an SME, okay? Right now, I'm not going to get into anything classified. I'm only going to talk about this from open source. But there is published reports about the Russian efforts through their various different cyber gangs and what have you. Russia has not only state-sponsored terrorism, but also contracted as well. And they are launching these massive cyber attacks into people's computers and what have you. And you may not think that you're a likely target because, what do I know and what have you. But you could be communicating 6 pops out, in other words, 6 links out from somebody who's very consequential. And you don't even know it. Your friend's 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 friend, but it links back to you. And then they attack your computer. So my advice to everybody is if you have iCloud or something like that, throw everything up on an iCloud. But also go to Best Buy, buy yourself an external hard drive, okay? Back up everything you have on your computer on an external hard drive and put that drive either in a safe or a safe spot. Because when these kinds of electromagnetic attacks occur, it's not going to matter what's in the cloud or your computer. Everything will be gone, totally gone, and you will not be able to recover it. So the only cure for this is external hard drive backup, and do that like once a week, maybe if you can do it once a week, but you should. Don't think that backing up on a cloud will save you because you got to get to the cloud. You got to
Hey,
get your
Don, hold on one second. I want to see if I can
yeah.
take this green screen thing. I want to see if I can do this right now.
Oh, okay, go ahead. We may lose you, but if you do, I'll keep talking.
I'm just gonna see if I can do this quick. Yeah, it's not working.
Yeah, I don't think it will because the camera is taking that port connection, and it's if you will colliding with the green screen connection. That's what it sounds like to me. Only because I say that only because you got it working without the green screen before the show began when I was online with you, and it was working.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. See if you can, and then if you can't, just call me at home and we'll do the same steps we did before.
Yeah.
So I can't see the chat, if anybody has any questions you want to ask me, Jimmy can read them to me and I'll be glad to answer them.
Yeah, if you have any questions you want to give Don, put it in the chat and I'll throw it up.
Yeah. So I have one question, remember the story about when you got walked into the room and you heard the creaky voice? Oh, excuse me, the floor creak, and you
Yeah,
kind of like hid behind
of
I think it
course.
was a door or screen or something like that.
Yes.
What was the story about that? How was it that you landed up even getting to that point? That's the part I didn't understand.
I'm gonna
Um,
I'm gonna explain it to the story right now.
yeah.
Now, what happened was my friend Georgie Adamo was murdered. Okay,
Okay.
he
Okay.
was murdered right before Christmas, actually, or right
Oh,
before New Year's.
oh Jesus.
Right.
All right.
So after he was murdered, there was this kid Neil and some kid Fat Steve. They were drug dealers. Now Georgie Adamo, he was on drugs at the time. He beat these kids. He hopped in their car and he went to go stick them up with a knife. He used a knife instead of a gun. And when he pulled out his knife, some kid Stevie pulled out a knife and he hit him in the heart. I'm not
Oh.
I'm not sure if he meant to kill him. I'm not sure if he hit him twice or one time. If he hit him
Mm,
one time, I would say, you know what? He might have did it as an accident. He stuck him, But anyway, little George Adamo died. He was
yeah.
murdered. So
Mm,
after he was murdered, we get Paulie G tells us, you know what? Let's look for this kid Neil and Fat Stevie.
yeah.
So we can't find the kid Fat Stevie. We go to Manhattan. We're looking for him all over. He's out of the
Mm,
neighborhood. He's hiding somewhere. So Paulie G says, you know what? Let's try to find the kid Neil that was with him. So we
mm,
look for the kid Neil. The kid Neil is a drug dealer. He's around a captain by the name of Georgie Conti. This is how it
mm,
starts.
mm,
Uh, so we go beep him instead of coming to the pay. Instead of calling the payphone, what he did was he just came directly to the payphone.
mm,
Back in the day, you had the beepers and you had all the numbers to the payphones. So
mm,
instead of calling it, he comes directly to the payphone. When he comes
mm,
to the payphone, my friend Tommy Reynolds, he ends up getting out of the car and he kills him and the other guy that was in the car. Okay,
mm,
I take off. Okay, fast forward, all of a sudden, a week or two goes by. Okay,
mm.
The kid Neil that got killed was around this guy Georgie Conti was a captain. So
Okay.
I get a phone call from a guy by the name of Charlie Tuna.
Mm,
Charlie Tuna is around Georgie Conti. Okay, this guy Charlie
yeah.
Tuna, a big guy, neighborhood guy, wannabe wise guy. He's and he'll do anything for Georgie Conti. I'm saying
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I get a phone call. At this time, the cell phones just came out. I have a cell phone. He calls me. He says, Jimmy. He says, are you available? Can I talk to you? Yeah, sure, Charlie. So what's up? He said, can you pass by my house at so and so time? I said, sure, no problem. So what
Mm,
I do is I call my friend Tommy Reynolds. I said, Tommy, this guy Charlie Tuna wants to meet me at his house. He goes
mm,
like this. He goes, Jimmy. He says, don't go, don't
mm,
go.
mm,
Call Paulie G. Let Paulie G know you're going. So I call Paulie G. I tell Paulie G, I say, you know what? I'm gonna go meet this guy Charlie Tuna. And Paulie G goes, he says, Jimmy, you want me to come with you? And I go, no, I'm gonna be okay because I got a pistol on me. I have my 380 on me, 16 shot,
mm, mm. That's enough.
yeah, 9 millimeter.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So I drive over to his house with my vet. I have my pistol on me. I walk up a couple flight of stairs. I see the screen door. It's a screen door, and you can see right through the screen. He's sitting on the sofa,
Mm,
okay? And he says, Jimmy, come in. So I'm saying to myself, at this time, you got to remember something. Look, I have my antennas up. There's a lot of things going on in the neighborhood. I lost a lot of friends, people getting murdered left and right, and you can't trust fucking nobody.
right. Right.
Okay. So I look in. He's sitting down. He says, Jimmy, come in. And I'm saying to myself, why didn't this guy, walk up to the door and open up the door and let me in? So as I open up the door, there's wooden floors and there's a wall where you could hide behind. I've been in his apartment before. And as I open the door, I hear a wooden creak and I just jet to my Corvette and I go straight to Bay 23rd in bed. When I get to Bay 23rd in bed, who's there? Joe Benanti, a wise guy with the Banana Crime family, and my friend Paulie Galino. And I get out of the car. I said, Paulie, this fucking guy, Charlie Tuna, just tried to set me up. He said,
Right.
Jimmy, what happened? And I explained the story. All of a sudden, 5 minutes later, who pulls up on Bay 23rd in bed? The guy, Georgie Conti, the captain, the captain of the Lucchese crime family, the guy that Charlie Tuna was with. So he pulls up. He says, Jimmy, he says, can I talk to you? I said, yeah, sure. What's up, Georgie? He says, I go like this. I said, Georgie, I said, were you just in Charlie's house? I said, because this motherfucker just set me up. And he said, Jimmy, would I do that to you? I know you all my life. But this is how the neighborhood is. This is how it's ran. If you're a wise guy, you're in the loop. If you're not a wise guy yet, they have the okay to kill you. They'll kill you, and then they'll make up a story about you that you fuck someone's wife. You are a rat. This is what they do. After they kill you, they make up stories about you.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and that's interesting because so use that story for just a moment and look at it from the perspective of our earlier question. Why is it that people who tell lies about you, defame you, and tell stories about you? So just you were saying they kill you and then they make up stories about you.
100%. 100%.
All right. So look at that picture is still in your mind. And then when it happens today by others who are doing the same thing, okay, except they haven't killed you, look at what your response is today and how it makes you feel, because it reminds you of how it was, the treachery and the betrayal and the anger, as a result of it from events back then. That's what I meant by the triggering. And that's a perfect example of what it does, to all of us. Someone says something, lie about us, defame us and whatever. And back then it meant, they did it post-mortem, which is the ultimate betrayal.
Exactly. And back then, you were in their face. You could get them.
Yeah. I mean, and on the other side, there's another way of looking at that story, which is the way I prefer to look at it, and that is, what was the single explanation for why you suddenly had the blink moment to turn around and run to survive? It wasn't a person that told you to do that. It wasn't a phone call. It wasn't somebody that was near you saying, Jimmy, run, run, run. There was no one with you but you. What was it deep within the recesses of your soul, almost, of survival?
Yes, that was my senses telling me, what? There's something over here that's not wrong. And what? My neighborhood, anyone who's from my neighborhood knows that at that time, there was murderers and killers and murders going on every single day. People were getting killed left and right.
Yeah, and that story is a perfect example of what I said at the outset, which is you should have been dead 1,000 times, 1,000 times ago.
100%.
Something, someone, some force, some type of higher power intervened on those doorsteps to turn you elsewhere, for you to do another mission in life. There was a plan, there was a course, there was a journey yet to be walked that allowed you to turn around. Otherwise, you would have been like all the others, dead.
100%. I would have been a statistic.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to wonder what that is, or what that was. I happen to believe, and this is just my own faith that teaches me this, and my own belief, which I'm not insisting or saying that anybody else has to believe this. It's just mine, that there is a God in your life that sits on your side, that is with you always. Hey, you're on the air.
There you go.
The man in black has turned green. Wow.
Yes.
What'd you do?
I'll tell you, you know what, Don? I
Yeah.
just saw something and I hit it and it worked.
Yeah. Oh, well.
You know, I think maybe something was going on
Yeah. Yeah.
because you told
God
me.
bless you.
Yeah, because earlier in the day, what you said was, is something spinning, and there was something spinning.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was the trash bucket and the history. And there may have been so much in the cache that it was processing that and cut out the camera until it finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, to
that's
everyone
great.
in the chat, now you see me. I hope everybody's good out there. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us today. I appreciate it.
You want to drop the link for somebody else
Yeah,
just as
sure.
for a
Why
few
not?
minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to drop a link. Anybody want to come on, you can chop it up with me and Don. The link is dropped. Yeah, I had another guy that wanted to come on. His name was Patrick. I think he was related to somebody. Maybe he's still in there. Maybe he wants to come on.
Well, that's good. Yeah, my voice is giving out, but I'm doing all right. I'm doing a lot better than I was when I was on Chris's show, because then I was like for shit.
Yeah, you're very. I tell you, Don, you're very good to listen to. You know, you're very knowledgeable.
Well, I don't look at it that way. I look at it, I just speak, from my common, experiences or whatever. But just to finish up the thought, to answer the question I posed, and that is, my faith teaches me in an abiding way that you survived that episode of being walked into the room, um, because God was looking out for you and continues to do so.
No,
That's the only explanation.
you know what? 100%, absolutely. I believe in that. You know, my mother was like the woman throughout the neighborhood that was always preaching the word of God. You know,
Yeah,
when she met, she always gave the word of God. You know, and
yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
maybe sometimes she did it a little too much. You know, she was
yeah,
more religious than me. You know, she
yeah,
wore it on her sleeve, and I was more like, who's gonna pay the bills? You know, I had to go out
yeah,
and do a little stealing, make some money to help my mother out. But
yeah,
you know what? My parents were awesome people, and I tell you, I miss them every day.
yeah. You died very young in your age, and kind of like left you in a vacuum to fend for yourself. Um, and isn't that the story of so many people, though? I mean, so many kids and young adults or whatever.
I tell
Um,
you, and I see a lot of these kids today. A lot of young kids dying of drugs, and
yeah,
no, honestly, you know what? It breaks my heart. It really does. And there's a lot of young kids that I'm in contact with.
right.
They call me and they text me here and there, and we communicate. You know, I try to be a productive and positive person in their life. Try to give them good advice. And there's a couple of them that actually, died on me. You know,
Yeah,
and I tell you, it affects me. It really does.
yeah, it does. No question. But again, back to the positive side of this situation. No different than whatever that force was that turned you around that particular day. Maybe one of these kids who is just about to embark upon a bad decision hears your message and says, maybe I can do things differently. Maybe I should do things differently, and walks away from an otherwise deadly situation. And if you save one person doing that, then you're a success. So and it goes back to what I said at the very beginning of this show. That's an example of service, being present in the lives of another person, whether you know them or not. You never know how that event of being present could affect their real estate. We don't know another person's real estate. We just know our own. So Anyway, is anybody joining yet? I wish I would. I tried to call Chris, on the joint call, but I think he's out with Shauna tonight. I don't know if he's going on the air or not. I talked to him yesterday, but I didn't talk to him today.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come on, I dropped the link. Just hit the link, and we'll get you in the studio.
Then you can enjoy some of my bazooka bubble gum.
I got Joey D. Joey D just joined us.
Get him on.
Joey, where you at?
See the bazooka bubble gum, Jimmy? That goes along with your baseball cards.
I tell you, I love the bazooka bubble gum.
And you remember the day when they used to wrap the baseball cards with the bazooka bubble gum?
Yes.
Now it comes in a can. That's all you got.
And
no bazooka gum in the baseball cards.
How about the little plastic cans they come in? It's like you get 100 of them now.
I know. That's what this is.
It's pretty cool, ain't it? That little that thing right there goes for maybe $5.
I know. I get them on Amazon. I mean, how many pieces is this? This has got 60, and you can buy them with 100. But this one is a 60.
Yep.
I chew this. I don't smoke, but I'm always frustrated constantly, and I work out like crazy. So I chew gum constantly and what have you. Bubble gum in particular. This is sugarless bubble gum too. I love the baseball card shows.
I have Joey Doves here.
All right.
Yo, what's happening? What you doing? Hey man, what's going on with you?
How's that?
I'll be right back.
Hey Don, man, where you been at, brother? I want to hear all the great adventures you just went through.
Well, hold on.
Where you been at, man? You been on Guantanamo Bay? Where you been at?
Well, I can't say where I was at, but I was gone.
You was with the toughest of the. You with the toughest of the tough. The best of the best. This country got to offer. Well, we appreciate you, man. God bless you, Don. You know what I mean? All I can say is God bless you, brother. And then I can say to that, man. You know what I mean? What you guys do, unsung heroes. 100%.
It's my honor and my pleasure. It's my honor and my pleasure.
Joe, how's
we love you. We love you.
How's everything with you and your mom?
She's doing good, man. She's 80 years old. She'll go to the flea market, make her money. She's still hustling, trying to do what she got to do every day. She likes doing that. She likes keeping busy. She don't like, she likes going out there meeting people. Selling little stuff. I like that hat, man. Where'd you get that hat? You ain't got a better hat than mine. You know where I got this hat from? A real cool dude, man.
I like your hat better.
Yeah, you should, man. My boys, my Fat Family boys, they ain't no joke. They don't know joke, man. You better look them up and find out. You better find out what they did at that mall, 91, with their $500,000. They didn't kick me nothing, but that's all right. That's all right. Hey, did you anyone who got on the mob ties and got some NFTs? Don, I hope you got some NFTs from Michael.
I haven't been on his channel in quite some time because I had to get off of all social media. That's a rule of ours. We don't go on any social media or anything like that when we're away. So I wasn't able. I had to get out of the inner circle and any social media. But I'm probably going to try to join again after the first of the year.
Well, look, come on back, man, and listen. We got mob ties. You get some NFTs, and we're going to have a lot of adventures going on. It's going to be more than just, it's not just NFTs. There's a lot more to it. And he'll explain more as we go. But I just had to support him anyways. I'm going to support Michael no matter what. Whatever I can do, I'm going to do. I do the best I can, I ain't a high roller. I ain't a high roller right now, but I do what I can. That's all.
Yeah, that's all you can.
But, I love Michael.
Michael's great. I tell you the truth, I don't know anything about this NFT stuff. I'll tell you the truth. I would like to know anything, but when is
that's how you learn it. That's how we're gonna learn it. I don't know nothing either.
Hey Joe, how about so what do we have until what? When can we
We
purchase?
got like the final sale today. It's gonna go on the 12th. It's gonna go public, and it's gonna be like $900 or more just to buy one. Right now, if you get onto the link in the inner circle, he's giving us a special price. But Michael guarantees that he has the biggest marketing group in London that he's working with, that he met in UK or wherever it is, and they are going to be coming in buying some of this stuff up later. There's a lot of people that's going to get on this, and after it goes on public sale. So if you want to sell your share, you can. You'll still be a part of it, but you will get. He guarantees you hold on to it. That's up to you, but you will make something you can put away. I mean, he is not just. This is with Peter Vod. Peter Vod, look him up. He went from 0 to $1 million or whatever it was. He was 18, 19 years old. The dude is amazing. He's another great guy that Michael's working with now. He has a lot of enthusiastic, positive energy. You can feel it from him. And Michael is surrounding himself by the best of the best. We got Tommy Mottola that's going to come in. We got Mike Tyson is going to jump in. We got some of the best people Michael is putting together. Armand Masante is going to come in. Michael this is a whole other thing that Michael's tapping into for the future, the Web3. It's a whole different ball game, and it's different from the inner circle. It's still we still gonna be part of that, but it's something that he really thought this is a good team he's putting together. These people know what they're doing, even though NFT's got a bad rap. It's because of who runs the NFT. It's because who they invested with. These guys, Peter, and the people he invested in, he's getting together are the best of the best. And Michael don't play. He looked at the books. He had them sit down and explain them everything. Michael is not, when it comes to business, Michael got his mind on everything. He'll bring the right, and Michael is smart. He'll bring people smarter than him to run something. He's like Al Lerner did. Al Lerner, when he got the Browns, he got the best people. He said, I'm gonna hire people smarter than me. When he had his credit card company, he said, I hired people smarter than me. That's how I got successful, and that's how Michael is. Michael, he don't claim he'll be the smartest in the room, but Michael is smart enough to hire in the right people to do what he needed to do to build a team. And then with them together, they format things. Michael was brilliant in that way. And I'm just excited about it. And no matter if I have one NFT or a million, it doesn't matter. I'm just glad I'm being a part of something with Michael. And I'm going to learn from it. I'm excited. Michael, so much more, bro.
I think, that touches on who he is as a person. He first off, Mike is actually a pretty humble guy, and he's an extremely gifted speaker. But he's also, part of his speaking style is highly inspirational. But he does seek to attract people who are smarter than he, and then he leads the team. That's the gift that he has. That he's a leader, and he's not, and he's not afraid of leading people that are better than him or smarter than. Whatever happened to the Mighty Network and the guys that were with him before? Are they still around?
No, we still got a lot of people. Now, I'm hoping Gary Montalone, you're out there. I love Gary, man. Gary, I met Gary in California. Gary is another humble person, smart man. Good man. Just a good man. Anyone that wants to see. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm just hoping. I've been bugging him. He knows I have been. I know he's got things he's trying to do. I want him back with the inner circle. I want him with the other stuff too. But I just love what he brings to the room. I mean, he has a humbleness. He brings a lot. He's one of those friends you can call if you really need support, or you just need. He does it to everybody, not just me. Like Jimmy and people in the inner circle. We miss him in there, and we love him. We just want Gary. We really want Gary back. I mean, he was one of the few. We started this, and we went to the boat trip. We were the first people in the inner circle that really got together. That was going to be a memory of ours. And we met Gary, and I met so many people. Michael knows. I met his future son-in-law who passed. He's a beautiful man. With his wife, didn't want to be his wife, and me, his wife, and Michael. We all ate out there on the boat. We ate out there on the boat, looking at the ocean. Me, Steven, Schoenberg. We had a great time. And let me tell you, Michael, it was a great. He said something to me the other day. We had a meeting. He said, Joey, every time I see you, you put a smile on my face. He said, let me tell you, good. Joey. He said, Joey, you remind me of the guys I was in the social clubs with back in the days in the Bronx, in the days
Yeah.
in the Brooklyn and all that. He said, you remind me of the guys I was that would just put a smile on my face and be in the social club. He knows I'm doing things with the union. He said, man, Joey, if that was back in those days, I'd be right there helping you with it. And he told me, he said something that really made me feel good. Because he said, Joey, I said, man, Michael, I wouldn't have let people 10 feet. If I was in that social club, they would have got 10 feet in there if you didn't. He said, I already know that. Joey.
Well, it's kind of inspiring because, it's good because he's present in your life and whatever, probably helps you in other ways and whatever. With regard to Gary, I know Gary, and I know he's also had some health struggles of recent. I don't know how he's doing of late. I've not seen him around, but I can definitely reach out.
He's here, brother. He's right here in the chat. He's right here. He's a rep. He's one of Jimmy's reps.
Yeah, but he's a great guy. Gary's a great guy, and he's really a giving person. There isn't a person who comes along that needs help or wants someone to talk to. Gary's the first guy that reaches out and tries to help and what have you.
Man, Gary helped me so much. And I was on my trip to California, and I had a lot of things, some of the things I had to implement. He was right there for me, man. And even Michael said the top people that helped me, they made sure I had everything I needed. And they even said, hey, Joey, don't worry about it. He had his, person in charge of everything, getting in touch with me, email me. He made sure everything was set up for me. Kurt, everybody. I'm gonna tell you what, I met a lot of people and some good people, and I'm gonna tell you, I'll never forget that. And we're gonna have more times like that. All of us have our own relationship with Michael. Michael is one. Everyone will have their own relationship and build it with Michael. But I'm gonna tell you, Michael was humble, like you said. Michael was smart, and Michael. Let me tell you something. Michael really is a man of God. I mean, he is a man of God, and he has conviction, and he has went through the belly of what is the belly, in the whale. He went through the whale. He went through all that stuff, man. He went through the belly of the beast, came out, and look where he is at now. He could have been selfish, but he's not that kind of person. He decided.
And a lot of people, they talk about, and when they look at the Michael Francis, on the air and what have you, and the way in which he impacts people. And I think, what is so appealing about his message is that he exemplifies transformation. He has tried his best to not only transform his own life and from what he used to be and never ever wants to be again, and then shares that experience, strength, and hope with others so that they can possibly change their own, And I think there's no better deed than doing something like that, being impactful upon somebody else's life and having a proven journey of success, as you say, Joey, that he's been down in the darkness of the beast and has come out and has transformed. And so if you want to kind of see, a transformative process, look at Jimmy, look at Chris, Ladrago or FBS and how
I'm going to say something like this. When it comes to Jimmy, Michael told me, he said, give Jimmy a hug for me and tell him I love him. And he's going to be doing something with Jimmy. People don't realize this. But I'm just going to say something. Jimmy has a lot of people in his corner. I'm going to just tell you, I'm a different type of person. I don't get into everything on here. I know everyone has their little sticks they do. Right. And I know they open, and I'm not going to knock anyone, especially on YouTube. That's if Jimmy is friends with anybody or you're friends with anybody, I'm not going to knock anybody. I don't agree with some of the stuff. I'm just going to say personally, I don't agree with some of the stuff that's going on this YouTube, and I don't get into it. And I don't care if it's for entertainment or not. I just think you always have to have a higher ground and stay there. I don't care if it's for money or for anything, for views. You have to have morals, and you have to bring something into the room. You got to bring something into the room. You don't have to go down the low road. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't agree with everything going on, and I'm not going to name names. I would never ever do that on YouTube. I would say things behind the scenes, privately, and I will to my friends, okay? But I'm going to tell you like this. I don't agree with some of the stuff in this mob YouTube genre, whatever they want to call it. Yeah. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with attacking people. I don't agree with talking about people. Like Michael said, if you got to make your living off of talking about people, then there's something wrong with you. So all I'm saying is that I listen to what Michael said. Michael said, you know what? When you hang around certain people, they rub off on you. And he says, like, if I was in a room with Michael and I was in a room with Chaz, and if I was in a room with Peter Vaughn, they're going to rub off on me. When I leave that room, I'm going to be even better than I was. Now, if I'm in a room with someone who's talking this way and that way and the other way with a forked tongue, I'm going to come off like that too. So like Michael said, show me your friends and I will show you who you are. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. I don't agree with everything, and I'm not going to knock anyone because I'm not going to do it, especially on YouTube. If I want to knock someone, I'm old school. I would do it in person to that person or to my friends in private. Okay.
Well, so Joey, you know, that kind of reminds me of this, and I should have shared this before. What have you. I tend to agree with you. That's one way in which you can deal with, you know, the darker side of YouTube and what have you. But the way I kind of like look at it is this, okay? You know, I ask myself, and for all the people who are listening, ask yourself this question. You know, what is the definition of your first best friend? What is the definition of your first best friend that you first meet? Okay, what is that definition? The definition is that is the person who comes into your life and brings out from within you all your good qualities, your best love, your best creativity, your best imagination, your best hopes, your best dreams. That's the definition of your first best friend. And what's the definition of your worst enemy? The person who wants everything bad for you. And that's the person who brings out within you all of your fears, all of your anger, all of your resentments, all of your hatred towards yourself and others, and everything in which is a part of you that you never, ever want to be again. That's your worst enemy, okay? So on YouTube, you can find your first best friend. You know, you can, if you want to reside in that room. Or you can make the choice of going over to another side and living within your worst enemy. And boy, let me tell you, it's a dark space.
Well, you said it right. And like you said, you're an intelligent man. You're sitting around a lot of intelligent people, way more on different levels than we even know about. And I know you know what you're talking about. But I'm just saying, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. But at the same time, you know, there's certain people that can get in certain rooms with you, and there's certain people that's not allowed in certain rooms with you. Yeah. And you're going to come out a certain way, and they're going to look at things. You're very intelligent. There's no doubt about it. I would never even question that. You're not only that, you got a good heart, you're a good man, but you're very highly intelligent. I mean, I'm probably off the scale of intelligence. Yeah. Well, but I'm just saying, some of the people in your room with you that you deal with every day and your job are probably some of the most brightest, smartest, and most bravest people there is. But at the same time, very intelligent men. That's all I got to say about that. 100%.
You know, you're very kind, but you know, as I said, I prefer to share with everybody, you know, from my heart and what I believe, and it's based upon my experience or whatever. But I do mean that seriously when I say to people, you know, think about that person in your life who is your first best friend. And I call it your first best friend because it's that person who you met for the first time that brought out within you the feeling of all things good about yourself and what have you. And think about that time where you bumped up against some guy, you know, or woman or whomever that just made you feel like shit. Okay, that's your worst enemy. Yeah, right. And those are the people you want to run away from. Yeah.
Well, like I said, you know, I understand that. I just feel like Jimmy, when he started this platform, he started opening up other people to come on, like me, you, and everyone. I remember coming on. I wanted him to meet Michael, and I wanted to share that with him. I wanted him to bump elbows with the right people and just have the right people in his corner. I didn't want him to surround him with the negative because I've seen a lot of negative on there, a lot of negative going around him. And I'm just telling him, like, look, you know what? Now he's got Gary in his life. He got you in his life. Different people. When I was the first one to get on here to talk about the inner circle with him. And I'm just saying to you, the platform was set up differently. It wasn't, and sometimes you go in a direction. Sometimes you can hit a fork in a couple roads, and sometimes you got to go back and figure out, hey, which direction you really got to go to, because not everyone has their own journey, and everyone has their own goals they're trying to do. And maybe the YouTube became something for them that's their niche or whatever. But I feel Jimmy is on the same level level where Sammy, Michael, and a lot of these other great people like Pat Big Dave, different people he can get to. And he has a story. He has a way about him that he connects with people. And I just think his channel is on a different level, and it should stay on that level. And no matter who's out there who wants to poke fun at this one or that one, or try to come at Jimmy negative and say they come up with all these little channels, I tell them all the time, ignore all those things. Don't even put any attention to it. Don't put no energy to it. Those people just need to make they just need to make a name for themselves. They're going to use your name, Michael's name, Sammy's name, because they have no story themselves. They have nothing that can generate any views to themselves. And if they're sad enough to make their whole channel about somebody else and just attacking somebody and judging their life without really walking in their shoes, then they're the ones sooner or later, when they shut that YouTube down and everything else down, they have to look in the mirror. And they're going to ask themselves, do they really love themselves? They don't really care what they're doing. Because what you leave on this YouTube, what you leave in here, it stays there forever, mostly, unless you take it down. But you're still putting it out in the universe. So if you feel good about putting that in the universe, hey, that's fine. But I don't think Jimmy has to even have to acknowledge any of those people, because I think Jimmy's always set a standard for himself. I think he has a great story. I think he has a fantastic movie that could be made. Production, he's running with the right people now. I think he's refocused on what he's going to do. And I tell you what, and he's human like all of us. And I tell him all the time, no matter how, if you ever feeling down, you call me up. You ever feel like anything, call me up. If someone pisses you off and you just need to vent it, talk it to me, tell it to me. Because don't even say it on the YouTube. You know why? Because they don't deserve any reaction. They don't deserve a soundbite. They don't deserve anything. Jimmy came on here, and many people, and I'm going to tell you this now, he was the first person I seen jumping on Sunday with everyone coming on Sunday night. Now everyone's doing what
That's true.
Jimmy started, now everyone's doing it. No one was doing that.
No, I know that's very, very
no
true.
One
Listen,
was doing that.
Joey, I got a question that someone asked me. Mike the printer asked me. So let me answer him. He asked me, Don, do you think the Chinese government has an exclusive outlet for hacking any participants of TikTok at will? So this is let me answer that question this way, okay? The primary state actors of cyber attacks upon people in the social media, including TikTok, YouTube, and what have you, anybody that touches those spaces, are the Chinese. They have the most capabilities. The money, those are the North Koreans. The ideology, okay, and for other reasons, is the Iranians, and the Russians for spying. Chinese are doing cyber events for stealing of technology, stealing of industrial base information and what have you, to build their economic engine. Very different from Russia. Iran is doing it, or rather North Korea is doing it for the most part to fund them and what have you, to fund their programs and systems and missiles and so forth and so on. So that's their kind of interest. But and the other question that was asked was, do they work interoperatively or cooperatively? The answer is yes, as long as their spaces touch one another. In other words, so long as they have, a common interest, they will work together. For the most part, China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia do not work together cooperatively. They work independently, but they do overlap and what have you. With regard to the question about TikTok, TikTok is definitely the number one social media platform target of the Chinese. They're the ones in which they have the greatest amount of ability to penetrate. And if I were advising, I would say that people should be extremely careful of anything in which they do on TikTok, because it all goes to the Chinese. So that's Mike the printer's question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joe. I just wanted to.
No, man, I'm enjoying listening to you, man. It's always interesting. Very interesting, the things you're involved with, and very interesting stuff. Very incredible stuff, man. But I tell you what, like I said, I'm just saying that, I just feel, all these anyone could come up tomorrow, make another channel, and talk about Michael, Jimmy, Sammy, whatever. Always, because they know, hey, what can get me fast views? What can get me some people right now? I got to talk about this one, that one. But like, the thing is, Jimmy sometimes can make himself more accessible and more, he may be able to say something to them back. But like Michael may not and Sammy may not. So then they stop talking about Sammy and Michael because they make one video, and then the video don't go nowhere because they don't say nothing. They don't respond. So I think that's something we have to all learn. I think Jimmy had to learn YouTube. Sammy brought him into YouTube. Sammy gave me little pointers, but Jimmy had to follow his own, follow his own little path for a little bit. And I think now he's learned so much about, hey, man, I think if he'd have rewinded it, he'd probably say, and Jimmy can say this too, he probably would not have reacted to none of them. He probably would, because I think they were able to bounce off of that, springboard off of Jimmy reacting. And I think now Jimmy has realized, his power, his voice has power. When he mentions someone's name, it carries. It does. Because he has a name for himself. He made a name for himself in his life, or at Bath Avenue. He made a name for himself on the National Geographic show, whatever that was. I didn't see the documentary. Like I said, I didn't know anything about this stuff until me and Jimmy started talking. And I was going to tell you, and I just was fascinated the way his demeanor, the way he carried himself, the way he was telling his story, being vulnerable, and was able to put that vulnerability out there, and and he connects with people. He has a great way of communicating. Jimmy could be a therapist. Jimmy could be a therapist for somebody. I swear to God.
Well, he got no question. There's no question that he could definitely help people who are struggling from their experiences on the street and what have you.
He could have been a therapist. He could still be one.
Here's another question. Here's another question that was asked. I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I just want to answer for somebody else. So Michael Hill asked, the opioid epidemic is so sad. What do I feel about that? So the fentanyl crisis in the United States is, from a national policy standpoint, under this administration, they could be doing much, much more to deal with the fentanyl crisis. The fentanyl crisis is primarily a product of the open border in the South. Fentanyl is able to come into the United States at will because of the open border policies. Not only does that occur, but other things occur as a result of open borders. I'm not going to get into, like the politics of that, but that is the reality. Fentanyl comes in through an open border. Now, with regard to who benefits by it, to his question about, that it's so sad and what have you, because it kills so many people. The Chinese are primarily involved in the supplying of the precursors that make up fentanyl. And they supply the cartels in South America, Mexico, Central America, so on and so forth, to create the finished product. And then the Mexican portion of the cartels are the vehicles of transportation. The reason why it's a national crisis is because 140-some thousand people die every year of fentanyl and other kinds of opioid overdoses. And, when you think about the fact that we're losing the lives of 140,000, a lot of them are good young people. That is like what Mike Hill says, very tragic and very sad, because they will never experience life. They will never be like Joey driving around having a good time, or Jimmy or me or whatever. They will never have that experience because they took only one pill and they're dead. And that's because fentanyl is laced with precursors that China provides, which become deadly. It's not like prescriptive fentanyl that you get in the operating room. So
I was talking to this young man the other day. His friends went out. He told me, Joe, you ever heard of lean? I said, what's lean? He said they were doing this stuff called lean. All of them was all right. Then one guy got sick. He went to the emergency room. They found out there was fentanyl in there. Now, I don't know what these young guys are doing. I said, look, you never know. That guy could have died. And they all didn't know what they all might have thought, hey, it was all cool. We got it for, they're doing this thing, whatever they're doing. But see, these things that these guys are getting on the street, these people are doing on the street. Look, Michael's son-in-law, he didn't even realize that his son-in-law was addicted to some pain pills or whatever, and somehow he got something someone gave him that he talked about that was, I think, had that fentanyl in it, and it killed him. A young man,
I remember when that happened to Michael and his family. It was so tragic and so sad what happened to his daughter.
And I knew
as a
Alex.
result
I
of
knew
it.
Alex.
Yeah,
Alex
yeah,
was a good young man. He was an all-American looking young man. Greatest.
yeah.
We would sit there, mess around with the photos. He would show me stuff with the camera, and he was the best. I didn't even know he was Michael's future son-in-law until later. He's like, "Oh, that's my son." I'm like, "Oh, we already been kicking it and having fun all on the boat."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, that's how it was. A lot of times I would talk with somebody, turn out it was his brother-in-law. And I'm like, "You're his brother-in-law?" He's like, "I'm his brother-in-law." We hugged and stuff. I'm like, "Man, we was already getting along." So I'm sort of saying is, but the people it could touch, you never know. Like when he lost Alex, I felt that it hurt. It really hurt me because I met him and I felt for his daughter. But I'm gonna tell you, my cousin, I had a cousin OD'd. He OD'd and died at a young age on fentanyl. I got a lot of friends and people I know out here that died on fentanyl. Friends of friends. Another friend of ours went to high school with fentanyl. I know a lot of people affected with fentanyl. Friends of mine, different people. So I was going to say, it's a dangerous thing, and even people getting weed or anything out of it. It's a different world. They're lacing stuff with stuff. They don't care. They don't care. They're lacing stuff with anything. That's why it's good to go to a marijuana medical dispensary or a dispensary. If the government was smart, they just make all drugs, go to a shop or go to a doctor, because people have problems. People have addictions, because that's why the pharmaceutical company didn't want marijuana, because marijuana had a lot of properties that can take away people from getting on opioids. And another thing.
Well, speaking a bit about what you were just saying about fentanyl and what have you, Joel Robinson talks about the fentanyl crisis is really affecting pain patients in a bad way, and that's true. Fentanyl, if given appropriately by qualified physicians, especially in the hospital, can benefit people who have chronic pain and or critical pain, cancer patients in particular, and because of national policy over the fentanyl crisis, it is impacting the lawful dispensing of fentanyl for those patients who are critically ill and need it. So there is a connection in that regard, and pain patients, people who have chronic pain because of one illness or another, or physical problem.
Well, that's the thing.
That's
the thing. You're talking about administered by a doctor, and there's a lot of things that are good administered by doctors. But once you get to the street, that's just a free for all. And the thing is, these things going on in this country today is ridiculous. The federal government needs to just pass the laws and get marijuana off classified illegal drug. There's a lot of things going on. There's politics and money that they got laced their pockets from these pharmaceutical companies. Okay, and they know it. And listen, everyone knows that even from Vietnam days, those guys were smoking marijuana in Vietnam. Okay, I know guys in Vietnam that were special forces. I had personally friends with. I had a fiance whose dad was a special forces. He used to do decipher cryptonology and all that crap. And I'm gonna tell you, he used to smoke marijuana. Them guys used to smoke marijuana back in them days, and they know damn well it ain't no drug that's gonna lead to this and that. And let me tell you, the thing is, this country and DuPont had a lot to do with getting hemp illegal, because DuPont was making nylon threads and all this shit, and they wanted to sell their nylon synthetic stuff, so they lobbied people to make hemp illegal, because they didn't want hemp to be hemp was making all kind of stuff with hemp. See, you know what I know, you know as well as I know, Don, because you know a lot of stuff. You probably know stuff I don't even know. But there's a lot of stuff declassified that I've read and I know. And I'm just saying, the government knows what's going on. The government knows. They have agencies that know what's going on, and they could easily make this thing illegal. They could easily make this thing legal, and they can redo this whole drug thing and give out drugs a certain way, and we could combat half of these things that's going on with common sense. Okay, all this war on drugs that Reagan made, war on drugs. I remember in the 80s, everyone said he was such a great president. Okay, he might have his good qualities, but I remember the 80s. I remember people were struggling. I remember the gas prices going up. I remember the junk that was going on in the 80s. There was a lot of people suffering in the 80s, okay, from that bullshit politics stuff that was going on. Unless you were wealthy, he had problems too. So did all these other people have problems. But this war on drugs was the biggest hypocrisy in the world. And you know as well as I do.
I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, because I don't do that. But
I'm saying you don't want to get into politics, but I'm just saying, Don, come on. You know as well as I do. That's what it is. I mean, just say it the way it is. You're among the most intelligent people in the world. You know that some of them probably can smoke a joint and not even affect them and still do their job. So all I just want to say is, they need to get done with this. Let's just talk common sense in the layman terms. I'm saying we need to reevaluate everything for these drugs and make it certain things happen so people ain't overdosing on heroin, fentanyl. Get them the help they need, make things legal so government they can go to a doctor and figure out what is going on, and maybe they can then wean them off some of these things. People are using kratom. Kratom was from kratom. Kratom was from, now they're using that everywhere because it's getting them off opioids. It's a natural thing, and people are using it every day. And I'm just saying, there's so many other substances people can use, Don. There's natural that can get them off these opioids. And the pharmaceutical company and the government would just stop being two-faced and get out there and just start doing things that's good for the people. Make certain things legal, help the people that's getting ODing everywhere in our country and all these other countries, and come and reform a lot of this stuff. Not only
I think what we can say is this, basically at a national policy level, okay, the current way in which we are handling drug addiction at the national level, and intervention, remediation, and defeating that threat is not working. Okay, it's not working.
Right.
If it were working,
exactly.
you wouldn't see 140,000 people
dying. That's right.
From fentanyl. So it's not
now
working.
How many Navy SEALs that came back? And I know some of them. Don Shipley's son has a show, and he talked about the shit that he had to go through with all these drugs they started pumping him up with. These guys came back and fought for us. I'm gonna make it personal because you know what I'm talking about. These guys who came back with these guys fought for us, and they came back and they shoved all these drugs in them and all this shit, and they almost killed these guys. They almost killed themselves. And they had to get and Shipley's son talked about it. And these other people, they shoved them all these drugs into these guys. And all these things, when they came back, had to re-assimilate into America, into civilian life. And they don't have even the programs for them. And these are the guys that sacrificed themselves for our country, who went on things that we couldn't even imagine and seen things we can't even imagine. And these guys don't even get the help they need. And now there's things like marijuana and things helping.
Part of the reason, to answer your question, why was it that the VA and others treated the veterans first and foremost with opioids and drugs to relieve their pain? So the answer to that question, in my opinion, is that it was a faster, easier, more expedient, and more importantly, cheaper way to deal with chronic long-term pain disorder as opposed to
poison our veterans.
As opposed to treating the underlying disorder. So somebody else just joined here.
Yeah, hey guys,
I like your hat you made. I like the hat you made, brother.
I want to add Mike to the chat.
Mike, I like your hat, man. You made these? Hey, Mike, you made these hats?
Guys, no, these.
Who made these hats, man? You made the new one. I want
This is the old one. Timmy's
gonna do some new ones. You gotta customize mine. It's gotta say Joey Doves on it with a dove.
Of course. Of course. And Don will get a personalized one as well.
Hey, Don better have one. He better have a personalized one. But Don, you hear what I'm saying, Mike? Hey, Don, you know what I mean. I'm saying, you know what I mean. They need to reform all that stuff and start helping our soldiers come back and disseminate and they have a high rate of suicide and drug addiction, alcoholic. We need to take care of these vets, man. This whole country needs to wrap their arm around these vets and take care of them. I would pay more taxes just to do it.
Yeah, I will tell you that no one has more passion in their soul for trying to help the vets, especially around the issues of drug addiction and alcoholism. My wife's patients, she's dealt with a lot of people that suffer from that and are vets and what have you. I will say this, however, and I will tell you this as a fact. Okay, the Veterans Administration from before. That would turn away a lot of the vets and so forth is institutionally different today than it was. So today, if you're a vet and what have you, and you're trying to get care at a facility and they don't have either the resources or the ability to help you right away, okay, there is a way in which you can elect to get the care that you need from a regular doctor, and they're paid for by the VA, okay? So no vet should be untreated today. Under the Trump administration, they changed the way the Veterans Administration operates. And now today, I deal with a lot of vets that are friends of mine. that have served, with me, and have now are, veterans. I'm not a veteran. I'm still serving. So, and that's why I'm constrained over what I can talk about, especially on the political side. And I don't do that.
No, I
But
understand. I didn't mean to disrespect you on that.
yeah. So what I can say, however, is that I'm much more hopeful today over how veterans are being treated and the availability of care than I was before, when they were literally dying on the steps of the VA hospitals. It was deplorable. And the way in which they were being treated, by giving them, like you said, Joey, narcotics and what have you, as a Band-Aid, just to get rid of them, just to, as a matter of expediency, it does not work.
My heart breaks every time I see a vet. I know a vet, and I see him every day, and just see him go through that stuff.
Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead, Jimmy.
Hey guys, first I want to say hello to Mike, because I haven't spoke to Mike in a while. Okay.
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, guys.
Mike, how's everything?
All right,
Very good. Good.
Look, I can't stay on too long because my kids have to go to school tomorrow. But listen, hey, it was great seeing all you guys. And Mike, if you gotta say something, give me a call, okay? And I gotta do the hat switch. I gotta get together with you. And but listen, hey, I'm gonna be back again one day this week, and we could do it again, okay, guys? And I appreciate you guys coming on.
Hey, I love you, man. I hope we didn't take over your show, but you know what I mean? It was the Don Berlin and Joey Dove show for a second.
Go Bills.
I see.
Hey, I love the Buffalo. Oh, hey, the Browns.
Go
the
Bills.
Browns. We're coming
Go
at
Bills,
you.
Jimmy.
I see you. They're strong. Yeah,
We're coming at you with the Browns, baby.
And Don, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Your wisdom of knowledge.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, I enjoyed that.
Well, I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Don.
Anytime. Okay,
Thank you,
God
Jimmy.
bless. Take care.
Good seeing
Bye-bye.
you, Joey.
Bye-bye.
I see y'all. I love y'all. Jimmy, Don, Mikey, all you guys in the chat. And if you said anything negative, I still love you too. You know what I mean? Because I know you wouldn't say it to me.
And Joe, I'll see you soon.
I already know you wouldn't. We can meet at Staten Island anytime you want. Go to my favorite diner, Unicorn. You better buy my lunch too.
Joe, I'll see you soon.
Pop. Hey, I got this one.
Yeah. And Mike.
Yeah.
I didn't get to say hi to you. No, and I do want to get together with you. I want to regroup, understand, with some new logos.
Right.
Okay. So
yeah, send me whatever you got.
Yeah, I have to do that with you, and I apologize. I've just been a little.
What are you kidding? Everybody's life is crazy, especially you. What you're going through, the stuff you're doing. Come on.
But hey, one day during the week I'll be on again. I'm gonna start coming on again.
Good.
Right. And I hope your wife is feeling better.
She is. Thank you very much. Okay. She is.
Yeah, tell her I said hi, and like
I will.
I will give you a call one day this week for sure.
That's great, bro. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
All right. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks, you.
Bye. Yeah, guys. Well, you know what? I really enjoyed the show tonight. Thank God for Don Berlin. He really made the show. Gary Monteleone, thank you for coming on. Joining us today, Joey D, Beck, and all you people in the chat, Boston J, Crystal Ward, all my friends, all my family. Listen, I love you guys. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you much for the support, the positive. And Sherry Ann, I see you. Steve Cutler, all you people out there, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was a great chat. It was a nice time. We have to do it again soon. And let's do it again in a couple of days, okay? I want to come on here more often. I want to talk positivity. I was supposed to have Rita Giganti here tonight. She's not feeling too well. Maybe we could have her on again soon. But I got some nice people coming on soon. Next year, the channel is going to move it up a notch. And there's a lot of good things to look forward to, okay? Well, everyone have a great night. Happy holidays to all. And I'll see you all on my next video. Thanks, guys. I love you guys. Bye, guys.
21.
The streets will never love you back.
Score your 20.